Hello everyone, welcome back to Politics Relaxed podcast. Today I'm very excited to be joined by Dr. Sasha Evans, who is also my mum and a psychiatrist at Great Ormond Street, so thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
So I put on social media a few days ago for people to ask us questions, but I have to stress at the beginning that this is not medical advice. You shouldn't take it for medical advice, and if you are feeling sad, you should call Childline. You can call a lot of people. I'll link all of the stuff you need in the description of the video. So if you do need medical advice, please go to your GP.
Young Minds or your GP, or if you feel like you can't keep yourself safe, then you should go to A&E, but you should definitely talk to a trusted adult.
Great. So since we've got that out of the way, should we go on to the first question? It is from _GGP_02 on Instagram. Do you think today's education system is conducive to good mental health in young people?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that children in the UK are definitely struggling with their mental health at the moment, and the numbers of children and young people presenting with mental health difficulties is definitely increasing. And yeah, there was some research last week which showed that academic pressures are contributing to some of those mental health difficulties. So I would say that particularly with the reform of GCSEs, that has contributed to mental health problems. Some of the people that I follow on Twitter have talked about the fact that we examine our young people at both 16 and 18. So there's two sets of really important exams for young people, and that's a lot more than other countries do. So I think it probably is contributing, and I think children and young people are really feeling the pressure of school and exams, and I think we would do well to have a think about whether we can help them with that and make the system a little bit more helpful.
The next question is also from Instagram. Activist Politician asks, have you ever worked with anybody who really stood out that you'll always remember?
Yes, lots of people, and that's both patients and colleagues. I'm really lucky to have worked with lots of people who I think are really inspirational and have really helped me with my career. Lots of them have become friends, so for sure. And there are patients who you remember during your career who really stand out and stay with you for quite a long time. So yes.
Yeah, thank you for that. The next question is from Meryl Dimon on YouTube. What is the most common reason for depression in teens?
Oh, a good question. There isn't a single cause of depression. So as a psychiatrist, we think about what we call a sort of holistic approach, or the biopsychosocial approach. So we think about the biological factors, so things like physical health and what's going on biologically for somebody. We think about the psychological factors, and we think about the social factors. So the social factors are some of the things that we can change. So those would be things that are going on at home, or economic factors, or friendship difficulties. But there isn't one single cause of depression. There are things that we can do to improve our mental health. So getting regular sleep, exercise, making sure we're looking after ourselves. Things like mindfulness and meditation can be helpful for some people. So there isn't one single cause. There's often lots of different causes.
Yeah, the next question is from David Barker, again on YouTube. This is an interesting one. Your opinion on the mental health effect of smartphone and social media use by children under 16. Should governments make stronger legislation towards protecting children from the possible damages of screen/social media addiction?
That's an excellent question. And again, there isn't a straightforward answer answer to it. There isn't lots of definitive research which shows that smartphones or social media or the internet has a negative impact, like per se, on children and young people's mental health. The answer is much more nuanced than that. So there is some research that children with mental health problems spend more time on social media, and there's also some evidence that use of social media can contribute to problems with mood, or sort of like particularly females' perspectives on their own body image. And of course there are things like cyberbullying that we really need to be aware of. But I think it's much more the answer is much more nuanced than that. It's about how you use technology and smartphones. Because for some children and young people, like, smartphones give them an opportunity to connect with people. And loneliness is a big contributor, I think, to poor mental health. So there are ways that we can use our smartphones and social media in ways that can potentially be helpful. I think it's also about looking at the bigger picture. So how much time are you spending on your smartphone? Do you find it difficult to put your smartphone away? Is it interfering with, like, some of your other activities? Is it stopping you from sleeping? I think it's really important to put your smartphone or, like, screens away at least an hour before you want to go to sleep, because it can interfere with sleep, which can have a knock-on effect on your mental health. But I don't think there should be legislation. I mean, I read something before I did this, which is like over 90% of teenagers have smartphones. So I think even if we did think it was completely bad, it's impossible to put the genie back in the bottle. So I think it's like most things, like, we need to be, like, moderate about how we use it and use things, like, thoughtfully. Yeah.
The next one is an interesting one. I think applies to quite a few people. How can I get my toddlers to listen to me more?
So I'm not an expert in toddlers, but from what I understand, it's good to get down on your toddler's level, engage with them in their play, and kind of spend time talking to them. But toddlers, the terrible twos, aren't called the terrible twos for nothing. It's a developmental stage where the 2-year-old is learning that they're separate from their parents and they want to assert their independence. So to some degree there will always be an element of the terrible twos. The other thing that can be helpful is to offer choices. So do you want to wear the blue coat or the green coat, rather than saying put your coat on? So that then gives them some element of control, but still gets the outcome that you want. The Philippa Perry book about how to the book you wish your parents had read, I think, is really good for covering lots of these sorts of questions around communicating with your children. So I'd really recommend reading that book.
Just a final one here from Jordan Edgerly, again on YouTube. What are your thoughts on repressed memories?
Okay. Again, I'm not an expert in repressed memories, but there was a few years ago, there was some research which came out which showed that it is really that we're very suggestible, and that human beings are very suggestible, and our memories are quite fallible. So it is possible to kind of make suggestions that people then feel are memories. So we have to think really carefully about how we do some of the work around, for example, trauma, and be very sensitive to that. That said, I think there are also lots of work that we can do around things that we feel, and there are things like we do have memories which are pre-verbal, so they're much more about things that we aren't easy to talk about. So that's my thoughts on it. It isn't something that I work with a lot though.
Yeah, thank you so much for answering everyone's questions. If you want to get involved with something like this again, because I'm sure I'll be asking you for your questions for somebody else, so make sure you do follow us on all our social medias. Again, they'll be linked in the description. And thank you again, and thank you for watching.